Hello.
I'm Annie. I'm so pleased you're here. Thank you for coming to my talk. My goal today in this talk is to have a conversation with you, give and take, about the soul. Like, what the heck is with the soul? Why is this interesting? What's the soul made of? How do you know you have one, and where is it? That kind of thing. So who here thinks knowing your soul is important? I like this room. You're my kind of people. um, why do you think it's important? Like
Balance.
balance. What a great one. I love that.
It's the essence of who you are.
The essence of who you are. Yes. Anybody else?
Knowing why you're here on earth.
Knowing why you're here on earth. Soul purpose, right? Uh-huh.
Well, I think once you know who you are, then it allows you to work on those areas that you can use to help support others.
Yes.
Exactly.
I agree with you.
What's your sole purpose? What are you doing? How can you really impact others?
And how does that help people? Right, exactly. I'm with you on that. Any others? Great. If you think of something, bring it up. So my experience of the soul and why it's important to me is that when I started channeling in 1988, I asked for a high guide whose higher purpose with me was balanced, valid, meshed with my higher purpose. Now, at this point, I'm like 30 years old. I'm pretty much crazy, 3/4 crazy, and don't know what I have, that I have a soul or a higher purpose. So it was the instructor's idea to ask that question. I thought that was a good question. I'll just go with it. And so my guide Anubis said, our purpose together is to reunite humans with their soul, and from there with the divine. And I thought, well, that sounds good, and I went with it. And it's been a consistent theme ever since 1988 and since I started channeling. And then in 2014, when I found the Akashic Records, the Akashic Records are the archive of a soul's entire journey, like from beginning to wherever the other end is, or if it's all happening at the same time. If you're one of those, that one makes my ears smoke, but I do try to think of it. Anyway, so the Akashic Records are about our souls. And now that it's possible for all of us, regular folks, to be able to open our records and get information that's useful, practical, and applicable for ourselves, we might as well dig in. Like, why not? This is like an encyclopedia of why the heck did I have 3 tubal pregnancies and a miscarriage, and then go on to have to give an adopted baby back. Like, what was with that? Well, I happen to have had a very large ego, and I needed a little bit of humility. So I got some humility that way, and it was hard. It was a tough way to get it. I don't recommend it. But when you're not listening, the 2x4 over the head method tends to be useful. Everybody's head nods or heads are going. We've all been there, right?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm no different than you are. Mistakes will be made. And what I've found from my guides, the Akashic Beings of Light and my guide Anubis, my channeling guide is Anubis, and the Akashic Beings of Light are the guides in the Akashic Records for me, and who teach us how to open our records in chapter 2 of Bringing Forth Soul Consciousness. They really say it's about the soul. It's about bringing that forward. And our soul is always, have a seat. There's plenty of seats up here. It's all about the soul and learning about the soul. Like, what is the blueprint here? What's the plan? Like, did anybody else feel like they got here and everybody else seemed to have the playbook and the script, but you? Like, what? How come I didn't get the instruction manual? Like, I felt like I was the only one out there how does this work, right? And I think the Akashic Records are good for getting the instruction manual and understanding all the upsets and the big deals in the past so that we can come to peace with that in our current lives and then go forward from there, because who I am here in this present moment is what sets the stepping stones in place for my future, right? And some of it, if people want to know, is it cast in stone? There are some elements that seem to be pre-decided, as it were, and that, I'm going to have some experiences that might give me a smaller ego or not be so arrogant, right? And how those experiences come about might be decided by what were all the previous decisions I made leading up to those experiences. And that's soul level information, right? And when we discover, like when you open your records and you get soul level information, it changes things. And the blueprint literally shifts a little bit. And that changes what is going to flow out from that experience. Because you come to peace and then it's a new game. When I came to peace with, all right, I got it, God. You don't want me to have children, obviously. This is, what do you want? Well, the next thing that ended up in my ballpark was, you're going to learn to channel, Annie. And I'm like, what? And even when I took a writing class and I was going to write really good marketing copy, so you'd all have lots of readings with me and take classes with me, and I'd become a wealthy and famous psychic. What do you go, right? So the first day I go to this writing class and we're writing, I get the first chapter of how bringing forth soul consciousness. I'm like, book. No, wait, nobody said book. Wait, who put this up? Whose idea is this? And every time I sat down, I get more information on a chapter, or I get another chapter, and it was just channeled through me. And some of the chapters are tough, like they're very esoteric, like how the soul is constructed. And I'm sitting there at the computer. I'm like, you should really find somebody who knows what they're talking about in this category, because I don't. And they're like, just keep typing. I'm glad you're laughing, because it was what else can you do? Right?
That's how they were teaching you.
Exactly. And they even had said this about the last class I was teaching, based on chapter 15, living as your soul. And there were 6 students in there, nice, small, intimate class. And they said, no, there's 7. And I'm like, you mean me? And they're like, you're one of the students. Okay, great. And I might as well be. And that's why I wanted to be a conscious channel, because I want to know what's going on. What's the information coming through? What does the energy feel like? How does that help me go forward? You might ask a perfect question for me. I'm like, oh, I want to know the answer to this one too. Okay. I learn from all of you. I'm no different than you are. And I just want to do the best I can here, make a difference in other people's lives. And hopefully it helps me grow. Right. So soul consciousness. Since the Akashic Records are the record of everything a soul has ever said, thought, or done throughout time, so it involves any of your past lives. And maybe you're doing a special study period with some group of consciousness beings, and you're learning and studying with them. You're not reincarnating in a physical body for a while. Maybe you're in between lives. There's information about those too in the Akashic Records. It's the perfect platform for learning about soul consciousness or bringing it forth. The name bringing forth soul consciousness to me is like, it's not something my mother taught me. She taught me a little bit about how to make bread, how to grow vegetables, how to compost, a lot of things. Anyway, but she didn't teach me about how to know my own soul. And when I got to studying this, it's fascinating. It's very interesting. And the thing about what the guides explained to me in this book is that the soul is literally the link between our physical bodies and the divine. So when we bring forth soul consciousness, when we embody the light and consciousness of our souls, we are automatically linked with the divine. You know, it happens like that. So it's an easy practice. The exercise is listed in one of the chapters, but it's also listed at the back of the book. I put all the prayers, invocations, and exercises that are brought up over the chapters. I put them all in the back of the book so you can just go right there to find that part instead of
Like
going.
what you think.
I know. Organization is one of my little things. Anyway, so soul consciousness and the Akashic Records. So the Akashic Records are pristine. They're a group of beings that keep them clean and orderly and uncontaminated. The other thing about souls is our soul can never be chipped, stolen, sold, borrowed, lent, cracked, invaded, whatever. You can't kill a soul. Souls are divinely made. They're made by the divine herself, and that is that's inviolate. No other creature or being can do anything to that soul. So you can't lose your soul. And they don't like have a scorecard. Well, last Tuesday when you ate all that, blah, 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 they're not doing that. My personality, yes, that might be doing it. But the other, the divine isn't doing that. And my soul's not keeping a scorecard on me. So let's see. Chapter 2, page 12 has a lot of really good information about what the Akashic Records are. They're spiritual, not psychic. So you don't have to have learned to channel in 1988 to be able to open your records and get really good, useful, practical, applicable information in your records. The principles, the 3 principles, and I love this, that govern the Akashic Records are judge not, fear not, and resist not. And so when you open the records, my automatic feeling, and this happens to most of the people I do Akashic Records readings for, they kind of go, oh, I can let my shoulders down. I can relax. I can be as big as I am in my soul's records. I belong here. This is the record of my history as a soul, as a human. In the records, there are 2 orders of business. The first thing is energy first, information second. So when I'm doing Akashic Records readings, it's always like, what's the energy doing? That something just moved here and it touched there, and I'm feeling something. And I'm always looking and noticing what the energy is doing. And that may open up some information areas as well, because you probably are feeling that and that's why they're telling me to mention it. My body's registering some things. So energy first, information second. So you don't have to know right away why there's some energy shift. That's okay if that comes like next Tuesday, right? But the energy shifts. Now there's cheese down that tunnel. Let's see. One of the things I like about saying about the soul is that the soul has everything it needs and nothing it doesn't need. Which means we're all equipped to take the journey we're on. We have the tools, we have the capabilities, we have the gifts, talents, abilities, we have the skills, or we have the way of finding what we need to know, or a way of growing in the way we need to grow in order to master whatever it is we came here to do. So it's all in us. It's in that divine soul blueprint. And it's in that connection between the human, the soul, and the divine. And we all belong there. What are some other hot topics about the Akashic Records? The guides may not have the answer to a question like, when is my true love going to show up in my life? I've been asking for this forever, but they will. They might tell you, you clean your garage and there'll be space for them. It's a funny thing, because then you can have attention on something else. And in my experience, I'm a pretty well trained channel. I was taught by Sanea Roman and Dwayne Packer. I'm probably dating myself by mentioning their names. They wrote that book called Opening the Channel way back in like the late 70s or early 80s. Does that? Not this group. Don't know. Okay, great. It's still in print and it's still a good book if you want to learn how to channel. That's how I learned. And they were my teachers for up till they died a couple of years ago. And they taught a class called Awakening Your Light Body. And that was all about exploring consciousness and sensing energy and working with it and riding it. And what is the energy doing, and where does that take you by noticing and paying attention? So I have a lot of attention on that aspect. And as you learn to work in your Akashic Records, you will probably gain additional information and skills in that way too. I'm teaching a class called Living as Your Soul, and it's based on chapter 15 called Living as Your Soul. And there are lots of questions in that particular chapter. Most chapters, the way the book's laid out, chapter 2 teaches you how to open your records. And after that, you open your records and read subsequent chapters, and then you answer some questions at the end of the chapter, and then you close your records. Closing your records is an important thing, and I must say I forget to do that on occasion. And but it's a really important thing. You don't want to leave them open, because you want to know when you're in and when you're not in, right? You want to know whether you're in the right place. Is there a change in the energy? Are the thoughts coming through a little different than what your normal mind would dish up? Are the pictures different? Are you being encouraged to explore this? Your consciousness shifts when you read the opening prayer and go open your records. And you want to be able to close those up at the end of your Akashic Record session. But at the end of each chapter, there are questions. And you want to answer those when your records are open, because your mind is far more clear and the messages are coming through. And it literally, what you write down teaches you what you learned.
Is that Socratic method?
I don't, maybe so, but I'm not familiar with the Socratic method, which
we can talk about later.
it must involve Socrates, right? Did he write?
Yeah, same idea.
Did they have written language?
No, they were both the same. Socratic is where you ask a question, but you're guiding the things along as you teach.
That happens a lot. Yeah, exactly. That's how the guides end up working, in my experience. I didn't know that term. I'm gonna put that in my back pocket. Sounds really educated. So anyway, so you go along, and chapter 15 has like 23 questions. Basically, the format is living as my soul. How would my soul react to, pick a chargey topic? Oh, my weight. Okay. Living as my soul, how would my soul react to comparison? Living as my soul, how would my soul respond to competition? Living as my soul, how would my soul perceive money? How would my soul perceive abundance? It's different. because the soul basically has all the skill sets and the qualities of the divine, but just a smaller package, And the soul is always evolving. And so as my soul evolves, the personality evolves. And as my personality evolves, my soul evolves. So we're sort of in this together. So we might as well be in cooperation with one another and head in the same direction as a unit, right? So that we're not in argument with each other or in conflict with each other. So living as your soul writing workshop is lots of questions like that. And I'm coming up with more all the time. I ask the guides, wait a minute, is there a living as your soul question that I should write down about this, and there usually is. There's always more with the guides. So let's see. What else do you need to know about the Akashic Records? It's a vast resource, and you can ask anything. If you wanted to ask about stocks and bonds, or you want to ask what's wrong with your pet, you can know that. If you want to, I have a specialty. I do a lot of real estate readings, like, oh, you want to move from New Mexico to Petaluma. Okay, give me some addresses of places that you're thinking about moving into, and I will do a reading on them and tell you what the energy of this house is, what the energy of the land is, what's in the Akashic records of this property. Everything has an Akashic record. Boats, planes, motorcycles, apartments, offices. You can open the records of your department at a corporation. You can open the records of, you can't open the records of dead people because they're not here to give you permission. And believe me, I tried. And I got a very toothy growl. And it was clearly, get there. Okay, never mind. I will obey the rules. Which not my specialty in life. Following directions and rules. I've had to come to peace with those in difficult ways. So you can open the records of a national monument. You can open the records of the Colorado River. You could open the records of the Adriatic Sea if you want to. I mean, you could open the records of a star number A272. Like, I don't know what that star is, but have you seen those maps that they number them and they're just like 872.
Exactly.
There's like no identifying information in that name at all. But you can really use the Akashic records for a lot of things. You can go in and open your own records, and from that consciousness with your records open, you can say, okay, why are the cells in my organ, blah, 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 whatever organ, why are they giving me trouble? What do they need? What's the message here? How can I support this part of my body? If you want, you can get really microscopic and really use the records to be of information and usefulness to you in a lot of ways. So let's see. Akashic records and soul consciousness. Why bother with soul consciousness? Now, isn't this kind of the key question? I bother with soul consciousness because I want to know from where I come. What are my origins? It's not that I was born in Corvallis, Oregon. That was a place that my parents went through as, during that period of time. My dad was going to school at the university in Corvallis, Oregon. So that didn't really have a lot to do with my origins. But my soul, who the divine designed me to be, or who the divine designed you to be, now that is interesting, don't you think? And you can open your records and have a conversation. In my world, you can talk to the divine, right? Like, the divine's on your side, right? and one of the things they've really made clear in this book going on channeling is like, the game is rigged for you to win. It may not look like it from here, but really from the right perspective, it is rigged for you to win, for you to become the best version of you, the person that you feel most in love and comfortable with and were born to be. It's just how it is, right? And so why not engage with the divine? You know, why did you give me a brother like that? Or why did you give me a sister like that? Well, you asked me to have a lifetime again with that sister because she's fun. You know, what, all that stuff. Why bother with soul conscious? Why, how about you guys? Why would you bother learning about your soul?
An idea of what your path is.
Pardon me?
An idea of what your path might be.
Exactly. An idea of what your path might be. Exactly. Instead of bumbling around kind of blindfolded and wondering, is this hall going left or right? Or am I going in a circle? Yeah, I mean, it's really like, how can I do this? Eyes open, learn the most, and take purposeful actions, right?
Yeah.
My guides are always talking about there are times when I sit down and I'm going to write a flyer for a class. I'm going to do this. You know, this is Annie's self-will speaking. I'm not in alignment with divine will, and divine will may be, it's time for you to go for a walk in the woods, put down everything, close the laptop, get out of the house, see some sunshine, breathe, you know, but I'm going to write this flyer. Well, the words aren't there. And my guides say, the energy's not ripe. It's not ripe enough to take action. I will be banging my head against the wall. I will be forcing an issue that ain't ready. I'll get nowhere. And so I have to close the laptop and go for a walk or go water the plants or go pull some weeds, you know, and change gears and let the energy do its thing. I'll be notified, I'm sure. When the words start coming, and it will start coming, the words start coming. I mean, they're there.
Hold that thought. So I have to go back in and type.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me just record a little word. There was a good wording in that, you know. Right. Exactly. Yes.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So I had worked with a lady that did my Akashic reading.
Uh-huh.
And I guess one of the things that surprised me during the reading, she goes, well, do you want me to talk about your past soul lives here on Earth or on another planet? And I was like, what? And what? So I know what she told me, and I, don't want to express what I heard. I'd like to hear your opinion on and your thoughts around that.
Well, Annie's opinion is not very open-minded and constructive, but from an Akashic point of view, from a soul point of view, apparently that was really important information for you to receive at that time in your life because it shifted your path, right?
You were a Martian. Well, what I found really, like she said, that I was an Atlantean.
Uh-huh.
And I was part of that was one of my soul lives was, the original Atlanteans, that I was very much into crystals. And I have been very, very drawn to crystals. I know a lot about crystals and I work a lot with them. And so when she started telling me about what my soul's experiences were, it kind of clicked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she was talking about every soul. And I liked your part where you were talking about in between your lives and your body that you enter, your soul, where it's learning and where it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so our soul isn't necessarily always physically within body.
Yep.
So that soul could be on another planet. That soul could be learning or doing some other kind of journey.
Yep.
And what I just find interesting is obviously okay, human lifespan, they say 68 years is average, lifespan.
Jeez,
but that's
getting awful close.
Us too.
And a few more things I gotta get done. But I'll be back in a while.
68 years seems like a long time.
It used to.
Well, yeah, or even if you're 75, it seems like a long time. But in the essence of your soul and your whole Akashic record, it's a blink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's no time in the Akashic Records.
Mhm.
So it's all now. It's all oneness. It's all, should I do this? Oh, if you like. Is there any problem with me doing that? Well, it might not go over well with your boyfriend. Oh, right. That could be, yeah. This is my timer telling me to make sure I ask you questions and start getting ready for the wrap up. Anyway,
So you, I guess I'm asking your thought through your channeling. Through your
I have
guides,
had
that
done a lot of readings where people had
Other-
important experiences that weren't involved with a body on planet Earth. And the reason that they had those lifetime experiences and how it's being useful in this lifetime. Because usually what is brought up in an Akashic Records reading is, how is this going to help the person, right? I mean, it's fun to go past life TV searching, it's always entertaining, but what's going to make a difference? What information is going to make your life easier or move you in the direction that your soul really wants you to grow, or help you have experiences that are more in alignment with your soul's purposes in this lifetime, or what experiences do you need to learn about that will help you clean up the relationship with your so-and-so who you like to take off the planet, what do you do with the anger or like that? How do you deal with that? And there's a different perspective from a soul's point of view. Like, how is that helpful? I used to have multiple sclerosis. I used to be disabled with it, and I'm not anymore. And it took me out for a good 10 years where my life was very small. I wasn't really channeling a lot. I wasn't doing a lot of readings. I was just very focused on physical health. I felt like I was waiting, just like 10 years of waiting. And then finally, through a combination of things, Western meds, Tibetan herbs, and a special diet, reading really, really spiritual books, like the kind that you have to read 2 lines and you go, wait a minute, I got to read those again. Wait a minute, I got to read that again. Because my mind is like, it gets it and slides away, right? Because it's very spiritual information. Well, that kind of reading helped heal me. It was very painstaking, and I was having trouble with my vision, so I could read the top line in a paragraph, but I couldn't get my eyes to go wrap around and get the second line in a paragraph. So I'd read the top line of a paragraph about 4 or 5 times, and then I'd finally muscle my eyes down to the second line, and I was like, what was the premise? The top line, I'd have to read it. And it was very slow reading, but it got in, and it worked on me. It worked on me energetically and on my mind. And it really opened up that whole idea that the divine is within. It's not out here. It's not, up there. The divine is right here in us. Okay. I'm trying to make sure I stay on topic. Does anybody else have a question? Yes.
Does everyone have permission to access their own Akashic records? Like, are there any universal laws that we need to follow?
No, everybody is eligible to open their Akashic records. Usually it's determined by whether you really are interested. If you're interested, great. It's for you. If you're not interested, you're going to go do something different.
And should it be part of one's soul's plan that they get to access their own Akashic records?
I think it's part of some soul's plan to really dive in and dig it and want to eat it live. Yes. Other people, not so much. It might be a little phase they go through, right? It might be a skill set that they gather, but it's not like going to be their specialty. With me, it's like, these are going to be with you this is a way of getting my soul's purposes out in the world in a very precise way. And so, but no, you don't have to have a permission slip from anybody but yourself. You can write your own permission slip. Yes.
This is so amazing. I just love hearing all of this. And my quick question is, can we quantum jump into our own Akasha record and bring back embody a skill that we want this lifetime?
I think that is a possibility, especially for somebody with your mindset and your background. And this is like I would never say that's what I do, but but you, who you are, I think it's completely possible. And what I find is that the ritual of opening the records with a prayer, using your legal name, because that's how the records are organized, not your legal name at birth if you're now married or you decide to change your name. I know a lot of people who decide to change their name, but whatever's on your driver's license or your passport, that's your legal name, right? The ritual of the prayer changes the energy, and it's really good for me to be present to that ritual and how it changes me and my energy and my thinking and what shows up. And when I'm reading for other people, when I'm doing the prayer for one of you, there's a lot of information that shows up in there. Sometimes it's like 15 minutes worth of information. Sometimes it's just like a couple of quick things. But, when we said your masters, teachers, and loved ones, well, this happened and your energy went this and this, and did you feel that? And there will be a lot of information in that process.
So when you say you, meaning you picked up energetically?
Yeah. When you said you asked your question, can you just quantum jump into your records? And
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I get the sense that you have some practice in this.
Yeah, I have certain things in mind, and that's what
Yeah.
I picked up.
Yeah. And I don't have that practice, but I can tell from you,
Yes.
you could probably do it.
Yes.
And I would teach you the method just so you have it in your back pocket in case you needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've done some telekinesis, haven't done teleportation, but I've done other things.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be fun, but it has to be more grounded skill that I'm more. Going back to the Akasha record.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I don't think anybody would have called me grounded in my earlier life, but I've had to make peace with gravity.
Got it.
Yes. That was a good question. Anybody else? There are no dumb questions. They're all worth it. You're probably asking the question that's on somebody else's mind. Yes.
It's not directly related to Akashic Records, but channeling.
Uh-huh.
Can everybody channel, or should it be part of the soul plan as well?
You do not have to be a channel to open the Akashic Records. You don't have to be psychic. You don't have to have any of that.
Any frequency that we need to be to.
Yeah. The prayer will change your frequency to the level that you need to be in your Akashic Records and find what you need to know.
So this book would give that access, right? Or
Chapter 2 is all about how to open your Akashic Records. And then after that, it's like topics. Loving your fear, how the soul is constructed, your spiritual heart. There's 40 chapters in here. It's not a lightweight little ebook. This is a tome, teaching manual. And so it's fun. And there's all these bolded sections. They're like, oh, this is so, I need to just read this today. I open it pretty much every day and I go, what do I need to know? And I read something that's really worth it to me. And I don't remember writing this. I'm like going for the ride.
You're the instrument.
Yes. I mean, I was awake and aware and I had to edit it and stuff like that, but you don't have to get your PhD before you can open your Akashic Records. You right now could learn to open your records right as you are. Yeah.
be interesting.
Yes.
Deep diving into that.
And
Yeah, probably can fix certain things, right? Like, say for example, I want to fix my eyesight because it comes from a past life memory or something that happened in the past.
good.
Those kind of things could be fixed by
And
accessing it.
you want to phrase the questions in like a what, why, or how. Like, What is the purpose of my difficulty with eyesight? How is that helping me? Right? 2, why did I choose this as a teaching method or a method to teach me something? Right? 3, how can I heal it? Is healing my eyesight important to my soul evolution and my personal evolution?
Or learning a lesson.
Pardon me?
Or learning a lesson out of that experience.
Yes, exactly. And does it need to be the rest of my life? Like nobody thought I would get well from MS. I had to be taught to walk again. This arm was useless for a while. My vision was like, I couldn't drive. I'd have to call people. Could you give me a ride on Tuesday? Oh, we can't do it Tuesday. What are you doing Thursday? And I had to get a lot of help. I had to ask for help all the time. Do you know how good that was for me? Oh, I'm like, do it yourself, right? My dad built the house we grew up in. We would get together and we would bond over him doing an oil change on my car. I'd hand him tools, like do it, but you do it yourselfers. And I can't do it myself. Oh, big change. Learning to receive. Yes.
Humbling.
The other question is, how can I love myself even though my eyes are having this problem? How can I love myself unconditionally? Yeah. Do you feel that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Is our higher self the same as the soul, or what's the difference? What's percentage of this part of this greater?
Well, that's a debate, and I haven't got that one straight because I think they're loaded terms.
That is.
They're chargy terms. Like, I think when I first got going in all this ooey gooey stuff, like my first therapist was a psychic therapist. I was like 18 years old, right? And this is in Marin County. It was like, just seemed perfectly natural to go to a therapist and she's a psychic, right? Of course. And, but, she used the term higher self a lot. And then over the years, it's been more the term that I've become very comfortable with. And I feel that I have at least a little bit of recognition and knowledge about is the soul. So I really think it might be, for me, that's like inculcation. Like, how was this information delivered to me and how did I process it and what's stuck? So I don't think I'm in a position to say what it should be for somebody else. I could share my own experience. Yeah. Right. And, what I say could be like, she is full, like it could be something you just can't agree with. Fine. I encourage you to think for yourself. Isn't this journey about that? Developing a thought, like, I could think for myself about this. How many times are we taught to like go find the answer with somebody else? Well, maybe I could find the answer inside, in my Akashic Records, or by talking to the divine within. Never know what these talks are going to tell you about people and about. Oh dear, now the watch is not reading what time. Does anybody know what time it is?
1:53.
Oh, okay. Well, I should probably get towards it. I can take a couple more questions. Yes.
So when we access our Akashic Records, how does it come through with information? Is it like, do you hear it? Do you see it?
This is the exact question I should not leave this talk without covering. Thank you very much. If you couldn't hear it on this live stream, she was saying, how does the information come through? Do you hear it? Do you see it? Do you feel it? What? Yes and yes and yes. And it depends on how you receive information best. And you might start by receiving information like, you got 3 words. Great. Just write them down. Like, how do those 3 words feel when you're writing them down? And did those 3 words like have energy? Did it make life land? Did it make you lighter, less congested or constrained, right? What did those 3 words mean to you, and you want to unpack that. A lot of these simple answers are really like they're worth unpacking. They're like, oh my God, I could dive into this and have lunch. It's spiritual food. So my teacher would say, 5% hear things, other 5% see it visually, other people, the other 90% have a sense of knowing. Well, I challenge you to really believe yourself and go with your sense of knowing, no matter what, because it really does count. I got the 5-minute mark. Check. Gotcha, boss. Thank you.
I think it's fun energy. It always is when Andy's here. Why not?
So, in my experience, I see past lives like movies, or I'll get a snapshot and I start describing the snapshot if it's your past life, and I'll describe it to you, and it'll just sort of unfold, and there will be more information. I often teach people there are several past life exercises in this book. You can learn to do it yourself. It's like really looking, what am I seeing? I'm seeing a man or a woman. What age are they? What's their social status? How can you tell? Oh, they have like raggedy clothes. What kind of, are they inside or are they outside? Oh, they live outside. Oh, okay. Why? You sort of unpack that image, and there's a lot of information. What is the emotional quality that's being projected in this image that you're receiving, or this little snapshot? There's a lot of information in there, and you just get to go on the trust walk and believe yourself.
I agree with you. I think, there's just that sense, like, I'll say things, how do you know that? I don't know. I just know it. I just know.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know? I don't know how I know. I just know, I mean,
Mhm.
and I think it's trusting the knowing.
Or listening to.
Well, but we
the
can listen to
voices.
it. We can hear it. And we're like,
It's
what?
like, is that me or is
But
that?
when you really know something, you really know something. That's
Yep.
like, there's no answer or explanation as to why you know it.
And
So-
it's
What?
yeah, and for me, channeling is like that. The words that the guides use, or doing opening somebody's records, and I will often say, well, they're really stressing this word or this phrase, so this is like, this has substance, and that kind of gives me that sense of knowing, right? This is the right word to use. And there is parts of this book like where they're using like words like electronics, like transducer, transmitter, transceiver, transponder, and I'm like, I do not know what the distinction is between all these trans whatever. But I just keep typing it, and then later I close my records and I go and look up the words, and it's like, that is so spot on, and it's very precise, so you listen for these things that seem to have punch or weight or significance, right?
Yeah, I had it. So, I had this kind of like rash that I'd worn. I'd exercise. I'd worn one of those belts that make you sweat. And I had this I'm like, maybe it was that sweat belt. And I hear shingles.
Oh, ow.
About an hour later, I hear shingles. I'm like, shingles. And like, you had talked to me about a shingle shot one time. I think that's the only thing I'd ever heard. I'm like, shingles? What the heck? So I go on, Google it, shingles, boom. I'm like, it's a picture. I'm like, oh, I have shingles.
Yep.
But it's like, I heard it, but but it wasn't like on the radio, somebody said shingles. There's no voice. It's just a weird thing you hear in your head and you just know.
Radio.
Like
Yeah.
I've met and swapped readings with a woman who she doesn't tell you, she doesn't talk, she writes it out and sends it to you as an email. Like it comes out that way. It's like it has to come through her typing, and like, okay, that's her method. That's how she does it. She gets good information. It was fairly short and to the point, unlike your speaker. But it was her method, and you can develop skills along the way. You might start with, you hear a particular word, then that's it. you might, and by after that, you start getting like, oh, well, when I thought that when I got a twinge in my neck, I was just having, my body's doing a twinge in the neck thing, right? Then my guides were saying, ask them about their neck. And I would say, I just got a twinge in my neck. Do you have a problem with your neck right about here? They're nodding. And so I started learning, oh, does that mean something to you? So anyway, I want you to buy my book. I will sign them and put on them the magic sticker. Oh, did the Debbie's go? They go. These are fabulous autographed autographed copy stickers, so they'll be worth more on Antiques Roadshow when your kids inherit them. Oh, yeah. I'll take the rest of them back when you're done. And I want to sign them for you because I'm here. And doesn't that seem like a good idea? Isn't that what you're supposed to do when you have a book? Yeah. All of that. Anyway, so I have to close now. And thank you so much for having a reading with me. Come out to my booth. I have a couple open slots between now and when the show closes. And I would love to do an Akashic Records reading for you, or just a simple psychic reading. They're not always that simple.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.